guys, gals, and non-binary pals, welcome to the WIN-terview, the only interview you can win. Yes, you, wherever you are. And I mean that this week because it's not a physical prize. We're giving away $5. $5 that I will Venmo or PayPal you wherever you are. That's what you can win this week. So literally, you out there watching right now, you might as well play. We're going to start that up in just a couple of minutes, but right now, let me introduce my guest on the show. Comedian, content creator, board game co-writer. It is Grant Lyon. Grant, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming. Now, I have to watch because we talked for a second before the show started.
Yeah.
Is it Lyon or Leon? And I said
Lyon. It's Lyon.
Okay.
Yeah, so you did it right. Yes.
I got lucky. I got real nervous.
I wanted to compliment you on your sultry intro music. Boy, that really put me in the mood for a little sexy chat.
Indeed. That's what it's there for. That's why it's default.
Yeah.
Default is there because default wants to be sexy.
Okay, nice. I like it.
Let me do one thing real quick for anybody that's watching at the very beginning. As you well know, folks, if you watch the show regularly, I don't know, maybe you do. If you do, you know that the second part is a game show, and this is how you get in. Go on any device that you may have, a phone, a tablet, another window, although that's a bad idea, but you can do. I'm not going to stop you. And go on any browser-based device, put in crowd.live, enter the code IUK9L. IUK9L is how you play in tonight's game. Once again, tonight's game is for $5. That's what you're playing for tonight, folks. Brace yourselves. I know you can hardly handle the amazing jackpot that you're going to win tonight. Don't worry, we're going to remind you again about coming back here and getting that code in. We're not going to bother you with that too much right this second. But if you want to get in early, this would be the time. So, Grant, I was watching a bunch of your content today.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Not a problem, not a problem. And what I noticed was, it looks like relatively recently, you got into board game content.
Yes, I did.
We talked about it a little bit before. I could tell from the games you clearly have been into board games for quite a while. But board game content, one quick note, I'm going to put this up real fast. I'm going to interrupt for just a second. Christopher on says, hey, Grant.
Hey, Christopher.
Hey.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been a comedian, stand-up comedian. I've performed in like 45 states, 6 countries, all that stuff. It's been my life and my career for a long time, and then that ceased to exist with a pandemic, right?
Oh yeah.
I require audiences and groups of people together in enclosed spaces, but I have been into board games for 5 or 6 years. I've been into the sort of modern. I did Magic the Gathering when I was a kid and stuff like that, but when I was a teenager, got into other stuff or whatever, and hadn't really gotten back into the last 5-6 years. And when all of the shows and gigs and all that sort of stuff got canceled, that first month when, that was also the first month when everybody had no idea what was going on, right? So it's like we weren't leaving our house. We were getting groceries delivered. We were that sort of stuff. So my roommates also are comedians and also like board games. So we were just playing a bunch amongst ourselves. And I was like, there's a lot of people in my life that don't really know where to go for good games, right? Yep. It's like, yeah, they've heard of Monopoly and Scrabble and Uno, and that's the extent of their knowledge. And, so I was like, I should start making videos that I feel like board games are saving my life right now when I can't leave my house. And so I just started making videos right then. And originally, honestly, I was like, I'll do this for a couple of months and I'll just give my friends and followers some recommendations. And then I've enjoyed making them so much. People have responded to them well. It's a good opportunity to stay creative. And, I'm writing jokes for them. There just happen to be jokes about board games, So.
And really, it's the same story for this. I started making a game show in my basement because I was performing, and then same deal. Do you mean to do this? I need 20 of you breathing the same air.
Yeah.
That can't happen.
No.
Exactly. Yeah. And as much as I think I'm pretty good at this, I'm not looking to kill 3 of you in any actual real way.
Oh, and there's been some comedians that have like, there's a couple of states like Arizona and Texas have opened comedy clubs, and comics have gone there, and then comics have tested positive, and people in the audience have tested positive. It's like, well, that's not a good look for anybody,
No.
Yeah.
No, that is not how you want to do it.
Yeah.
So then what is sort of like, you've talked a little bit about it. So if people haven't watched this, Grant's Game Rex, and you sort of like grab a game off the shelf essentially, and you do your darndest to explain to what I like to call like a human being, like a regular person, here's what it is, here's why you should care. And they're like a minute 30.
Yeah, I try to keep them real short. I mean, some of it was like, I've watched other board game content throughout the years. And so when I was thinking about, well, what can I bring to it that's different from what other people are doing, right?
Yep.
There's not that much board game content that's like under 10 minutes. I mean, there's a few people that are doing them, but most of it's like, in that 10 to 30 minute range. And so I was like, well, I could do something where I keep it real short and I just keep it funny, right? And to me, there's a game out there for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. You hear some people be like, "Oh, I don't like games." It's like, no. You think you don't like games because the last time you played Risk and it took 2 weeks and somebody flipped the table, and there's a game for everybody. So I'm trying to be like a place where if you already like games, it's a place you can come to get a laugh, and if aren't already into games, it's a place you can come to sort of whittle down a list, right? If you're like, I'm going to watch some of these and I'm not going to decide what to buy after watching him, but I'm going to go, oh, those 5 games sounded interesting. Maybe I'll look into more of those. And it's like, I don't know that I'm going to convince anybody, but I am going to convince them to like look more into a game, right? That's kind of what I want it to be.
Definitely. And one of the things I think is really cool and unique about it, and it's how you could tell it was literally of this time, is because you do this in 90 seconds. You cook fast. You're like, here's the game, here's the thing. And almost every single game has well, let me tell you why it's important in these times.
Yeah,
literally that phrase comes out.
Yeah. And that's what I mean, especially at the beginning, I was trying to be like, this is a game you can play with 2 people that's going to be still fun. Or this is a game that says it works for 2 people, but you really need 3. So if you don't have 3, then maybe it's not the right one for you. Yeah. But I mean, that's the idea of them is like, get in, get a little explanation, get a couple of jokes, and get out,
It's smart, and it's different, and it's funny, and it's fresh based on kind of what this, because it's the same reason I'm doing this. It's just something that's not what's out there in board game media right now. Just give me something different. A lot of people are reviewing, and a lot of them are great.
Yeah.
But not everybody needs to do that.
Totally. And, and it's also like, I think with any media, it's how do you bring yourself into the media, right? Like, it makes sense that I'm going to do board game reviews that have jokes in them because I'm a comedian, right? You got to bring your own skill set into it. So, I'm having fun doing them, and people have been responding nice, and that's been really cool.
That is fantastic. We have a question that's coming every so often. I'm going to grab something from somebody that's in the chat. Let's take a look. Can any game be fun or funny, or are there specific games?
Well, I would say any game can be funny if it has player interaction, right? Yeah. If you are just, there are plenty of games, and some of the heavier Euros and things like that they're fun games, but it's a lot of like, I'm here, I'm thinking about my strategy, I'm, burning my brain, and it's like, well, you're not going to get a lot of like funny laughter out of a game like that. If I'm just like, hey, shut up, Tim, I'm trying to think through this next move. So to me, it's player interaction, right? If there's player interaction, then that's what really gets me going. That's what's really, I'm totally fine playing, a party game or like a thinky area control game where we're doing a lot of player interaction and stuff. So
very cool. So a question for you. So you've covered a lot of stuff, and clearly like your show has a particular angle, and that angle is to take somebody from 0 to not 0.
Yeah.
So because of that, you're blocked into very specific kind of stuff you're going to talk about. Even a game, one of my personal favorites we talked about before we got on here, which is Quaxaquidlinburg.
Yeah.
Even that, you're already kind of jumping a little bit of a hill because you're like, the game is called the Quacks of Quidlinburg. That is the most game-sounding game name ever.
It's like, that's what I say in the video, where it's like, look, I know you're going to think this sounds dumb, but just play it. Like, it's really fun. You know?
So, is there anything, like, you wish you could cover because either, like, you think you have had some jokes ready to go, or there's something about it, or you just love it so much, but that you know is not going to be in what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing anything above medium weight. And even medium weight is like, I feel like I have to like preface it a little bit. Like, this is going to take some thought and strategy, but once you figure out, it's going to be really great. So, you know, I'm not going to do any of the top BGG games, right? I mean, everything in that top 20, I feel like the only one in the top 20 that's not just like a heavy game is like Seven Wonders Duel. And everything else is like, well, can't do any of those, you know? Yep. So, I mean, I'm somebody that like, I haven't played Gloomhaven, but I really want to. But I also know that I have nobody in my life to play it with.
I completely although if you could have just gotten it right before everything shut down, you might have been able to obligate some people because you're like, well, what else are we doing?
Yeah, totally. Figure it out. You figure out this part. I'm figuring out this part. Yeah.
Indeed, that's what kept me from Root. Is I have Root and it sits on the shelf and I pull it out and I look at it and I go, oh, every player has to know how to play a different game. And then I box it back up and I look at those happy little like gerbils and stuff on there every once in a while.
Yeah. And even, you know, it's like if I'm looking at a complexity rating and it's like above a 3, I'm like, I'm out. And even something that's like a 2.5, I'll go for it, but I'm like, I know this is going to take a bit of convincing.
Oh, right? Definitely. So if you had, because like you're a gamer, you do it, you so much so that you're making board game media, which means you're proselytizing. You're trying to take the uninitiated and bring them in. Have you had the experience? Because I feel like everybody has, where you think it's gonna work. You're like, no. I got the game that's going to work for you. And then you watch it like take off like the Hindenburg and then explode like the Hindenburg.
Well, I think there's like, we definitely take for granted a little bit how once you've started wrapping your head around rule books, it just sort of that compounding knowledge, right? Where you're like, oh, okay, I get what they're going for here because, you know, I get this drafting because I've played Bunny Kingdom and that has a similar drafting mechanic, and so I'm already like halfway there, right? Where there has been times like I took the game Skull.
Okay.
To a friend's house, and by the end of the second game, they were still going, "Wait, what can I do right now?" And I'm like, "Boy." It really doesn't get easier than this. And they were literally like, I think Monopoly is easier than this. And I was like, there's no way Monopoly is easier than this. You've just played Monopoly before. And, you know, like, I think Skull's very fun. And I really like the bluffing aspect of it. And it does have a lot of that player interaction. But it's like, people, you can do 2 things. You can put another coaster or say a number. That's it. And the fact that they were like, man, what? And I was just like, all right, what other game did I bring, right? Like, and then I went just like straight party game, like, okay, we can play something that has like no rules to it at all, right?
Like, it's time to pull out Telestrations.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I think we played a game called By Felicia, which is a newer game that I really like, and it's kind of like a reverse categories, and so it's like write some things down. If you wrote something down that somebody else wrote down, you're still in the round. Yeah, you know, that's it. But
I understand. I one time tried to bring Seven Wonders to people, and that was when exactly what you're talking about. When I saw like a normal human with that game, I went, oh. I forgot how much I learned about board games by playing board games.
Yeah, totally.
I can't even imagine with Skull.
I still stand by the fact that Skull is not a hard game to learn. I did not think that, because there were plenty of games I was like, deciding what to bring that night, and I'm like, nope. Oh, this one could work, right? Like this plays up to 6 people, and it's really easy to learn. And when you're wrong, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I really thought this wasn't going to be a big deal here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, let me do one thing real quick. Let me bring up the board to remind everybody. Then in just a little while, we're going to be playing for $5 whole. You can do that by going to crowd.live, enter the code IUK9L. IUK9L will get you in the game. We'll be talking about that in just a couple of minutes, but I additionally wanted to bring up that screen.
I'm going to throw in an extra 5 for the winner. Huh?
Oh, no. I don't have any boards of sounds to hit. It's $10 now, y'all. It is a $10 game. That's what you're getting.
$10 game, yeah.
It has doubled tonight, y'all. Brace yourselves.
You haven't even started playing and the pot has doubled.
So what I want to do is I also want to put over on this screen
the
new game you're working on, because you are such a game person.
Yeah.
As everyone does, there's sort of 2 things you jump over. 1, are you going to make board game content? Check.
Yep.
2, are you going to make a board game? So talk to me about what I'm looking at here.
So it's a game called Curmudgeon, obviously. It is a silly party game, and we want it to feel silly. Obviously it's a game that is based on experience, not on winner. The best way I can pitch it is the greatest thing I heard in all the play testing we did was someone said, I don't think I'm funny. This game made me feel funny. Oh,
that is the best thing a party game can do. There's no doubt about that.
And I was just like, yeah, that's exactly what I want it to be. And so it's a game. It's based on like insulting, but it's all like very silly insults. It's not mean at all. It's sort of like Mad Libs for funny insults. You have some word cards in your hand. Everybody has life cards in front of them. So those yellow cards are life cards. And so when I'm insulting somebody, I'm not insulting you specifically. I'm insulting this aspect of your life, right? Your house, your car, your fiance, something like that. So, it keeps it a little sillier where I'm not just like looking at you and being like, let me tell you, And then you got those key words, and you're just making up an insult using those key words. And honestly, it's the people, and we say this in the rule book, it's like the people that don't think about it and they just throw something dumb and silly together. Like, you don't have, I've played this with hundreds of people, and there have been plenty of people that are like, oh, I'm not going to be good at this. And I have yet to see somebody that can't do it, right? It's just, you kind of throw it. Sometimes the weirdest things that barely make sense are the things that get the biggest laugh, right? Just like a Mad Lib. So
Christopher Ron said, he knows some people who will super like this.
Yeah, it's a great game amongst friends, right? That is, we were playtesting it at Gen Con in 2019 in the unpublished hall, and it definitely is a game where I will say everybody enjoyed it, but there was a particular level of enjoyment when a group came together that knew each other, right?
Okay.
When 4 people sat down that were all friends versus 4 strangers sitting down to play. It's just, it works very well amongst friends that don't take themselves that seriously.
Very cool. So I have one question about it. First, let me just take one thing from the chat. Hey, John, welcome.
Hey.
Next thing, so I see like the microphone here.
Yeah.
What's happening? So, like, what's the story? I mean, I realize it's a party game, so there's not like a deep, complex story to get into. But like at the point you have a microphone, there's clearly a thing going on here, and I'm real curious what the construct is.
Yeah. So the concept of the game is like, you are a cantankerous grump, and you are trying to insult everything and anything before your life runs out. So that life card deck literally represents your life running out as more life cards come out, and whoever has insulted the most stuff before they die dies the biggest curmudgeon. All you're trying to do is die the biggest curmudgeon. And so the microphone is just like, it's our player indicator. It's the thing that moves around the table, and it's just sort of like, I'm grabbing the mic and I'm coming after you, right?
Nice.
So yeah.
Nice. I see that also tying. If anybody checks you out on YouTube, you have like a couple different aspects of what's going on in your media. So there's like, do you want this board game thing? Bam, I got you. Hey, I also do stand up. You might want to hire me to go somewhere. Bam, I got you. And then there's like just an entire section of just people that have decided they need to yell at you at shows.
Oh, it happens more than you might think. Yeah, I got a whole heckler videos playlist on there. Yeah.
I saw that because the one that grabbed my attention for a second, because I don't want to lie to you and say I watched everything. I didn't watch everything. But
I forgive you.
I did watch. There was one where it was like a fake wrestler knees me in the balls.
Oh, he wasn't a fake wrestler. He was like a semi-professional wrestler. He came onto the stage. I was headlining a comedy club in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this was
my goodness
out there, and was part of like a southern ring of wrestlers, like independent professional wrestlers. And just some people want to be the center of attention, right? And can't handle not being the center of attention. So he literally would like yell out and heckle and then stand up and flex to the rest of the audience. And I just got tired of it. And finally, I really like made fun of him. And I was basically like, you decided to dedicate your life to fake fighting. Do you think your mom is proud of you? And if there's one thing wrestlers don't like, they don't like being called fake fighters.
No, not at all. What blew my mind about it was, having watched it, was that so this dude gets up, and like this dude's clearly spent some time in a gym. I don't want to say he's like the most ripped individual, but like he has spent some serious just lifting plates, bro. Just moving plates around like a waiter. And the fact that he got up and then didn't even because it looked like he didn't even really try to hit you. It's like he tried to fake wrestle you. And I'm like,
he legitimately gave me a wrestling knee. Like, he could have done it a lot harder.
Yeah.
He didn't hit me right. He hit me like kind of side of the upper thigh, kind of in between the bits.
Yeah.
And it's like he could have done it a lot harder. So I'm not like saying this guy tried to fight me, but also I wasn't in on the joke, right? Yeah. He was like, ha ha ha, this is funny. And I was like, yo, dude, you legitimately just need me. Like, you can't do that.
I was so confused at the assault. Like, once again, we're going to say here on the WIN-terview, we do not support violence of any kind.
Oh, yeah.
But if you feel so motivated that you must get on stage and assault a person, it seems like you either don't assault that person or you do.
You go through this like weird half thing. Yeah,
it was like a weird half thing, and it was clear that you were not in on the bit. And had you been, who knows how much more ridiculous the whole thing could have been. If you ahead of time, y'all had decided, okay, look, you're going to heckle me, then you're going to come up, you're going to pile drive me on the stage. I'm going to pretend like I have nerve damage. Like
that would have been a weird performance-y thing. Like, wait until I'm 45 minutes in and my set is almost done, and then we're gonna do this big crazy end, right? Yeah. That's fun. I mean, I don't know if you see, like, I was so surprised just at the like audacity of it, and the fact that it's a comedy club that no longer exists, and part of the reason is because they weren't a good comedy club, and a good comedy club has a security guard that comes over and shuts somebody down before that even gets the book. So the fact that he was able to come up on stage and knee me, and still no employee of the club did anything, it was like, oh, I'm alone here. Like, and he was with 3 friends. So if you watch the video, you can see there's like a 10 or 15 second pause where I pick up my beer bottle because I'm like, do I have to be crazy? Do I have to do something crazy right now? Right? Like that guy, in a fight, that guy's gonna crush me. That guy's way bigger than me.
Yep.
No way. So the only thing I got is crazy, right? If I bring crazy right from the outset, maybe I got a chance. You know?
It's a thing to see, folks. If you have a chance, like, because the whole thing, especially now here in the story, as I was watching it, I'm like, what even is this I'm seeing?
Yeah. It's crazy.
And then when he like was willing to talk shop for like 3 more minutes, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I don't think he's in on this. And why did nobody? Why did a guard not come over and say like, "You're done, my man"?
Because it was the late show on Saturday, and the manager had literally left before the show started. Was like, all right, well, we did the first show, and I'm tired, so you guys got the second show, and I'm out of here.
Oh, goodness. So if you're out there, check out his YouTube. Grant, what's your YouTube? I have typed it in, but I can't remember it.
It's youtube.com/Grant Lyon. Just my name.
Just no Grant Lyon.
Lyon. Yep.
And we'll remind everybody at the end. But if you want to see like both the glamorous, decently lit front camera being a comedian, and then the late show after the owners left in Chattanooga, you can get just all the slices of life.
Yeah. And hopefully you can get some laughs about board games too. You know?
Indeed. It's all there. So let's jump into the game. Let me put it up one more time. Awesome. If you want to win, remember, folks, if you looked at any of the promotional material, it was a $5 prize. And Grant has decided he's put up 5 more. It's a $10 prize, folks. $10 if you win this. I will remind everyone at home, if you decide to jump in, once again, on your phone, your device, whatever you have, go to crowd.live, enter the code IUK9L. One more thing, I remind everyone every week, if you haven't played before. So there's always going to be a lag wherever you're watching this from and where I'm talking to you from. So once the game begins, it is about how fast you answer. So stare at your phone. It is fine to do it. The phone is the scorekeeper. The phone is the arbiter. The phone does everything. I'm just here. So pay attention to your phone at all times. Once this game begins, once you start to see the count, please pay attention to that. Do not wait for me to talk about the questions and for us to discuss them, or you're going to lose valuable points the entire time. So we're going to start this game in just a second. We'll start the countdown in just a moment. Once again, final call. You can jump in at any point. I say final call like you can't get in later, but you want points. You want $10. Who doesn't? Crowd.live, enter the code IUK9L. We're going to begin in just a moment. Grant, just a note to you. They're here, so they'll hear it. These are all going to be in a different order than you answered them in originally. I didn't figure that would mess you up too much, but I just wanted you to know.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
I was supposed to tell you ahead of time, and I forgot.
It's no big deal.
So here we go, folks.
My answers. Because they were answers.
I've waited. No one has forgotten their own answer yet.
Yeah.
Because if that happens, then people get real mad.
Boy, here we yellow. I can't decide right now.
Here we go. 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the games begin. Your first question, Fez or Beret? It says support your local game show because I do not have a sponsor. So if you know someone wants to sponsor the show other than Grant, let me know.
And do I wait to the end of the counter to give you the answer, right?
Absolutely. So well, actually, here's what we do first. So all answers are in. I want to see how the crowd responded. So right now, 3 people in the game, which is crazy because 7 people are signed in, but 3 are playing. So one of you is going to win $10.
Yeah.
Fez or Beret, the whole crowd thinks the answer is Fez.
Nope.
So Grant, talk to me about the answer and why.
I picked Beret because Fezes are for people who are in secret societies, and I am not in a secret society. I am not part of the Illuminati. All right. I picked a Beret because berets are for artists, and I'm an artist.
You know, that is as a viable and reasonable an answer as any I could think of. Unfortunately, that means nothing. None of you got anything.
Yep.
Welcome to the game, folks. If you're out there watching and you want to jump in, this is the time because the first question meant nothing to anyone.
Yeah, it's all tied up still, baby.
Exactly. We're still pitching a no-hitter here, and we've established Grant is an artist and not in a secret society. Now you know.
I know there was a lot of confusion out there, but I am, in fact, not in a secret society.
Not at all. Although you have a solid hat game. That's why I came. Normally, I don't wear a fitted on the show here, but your hat game is strong.
Thank you, sir.
So I realized I had to come bring it so that we looked like a Black Keys cover band.
Yeah, your glasses game is strong too. So
thank you, sir. I noticed you were strong with those as well. That was part of the reason I watched more videos than I expected I was going to. I was like, what's the next pair of glasses going to be?
Yeah, I have a son.
So I'll ask this. So is it an actual prescription, or do you just you look good in glasses?
Mine is an actual prescription. So I think I have like 12 pairs of glasses, but I will say a lot of them are through these like sites where I'm not spending like $100 or something. It's like you find there's a few of these sites like Zenny and things like that where I'm like, oh, I could spend $20 for a pair of glasses. Yeah, I'll take some flyers on some funky glasses,
No doubt. No, that's what I figured, but I was like, you have just enough of them that I wanted to ask the question because you had so many hats matching glasses, and I'm a person that respects that more than your average bear.
I like it.
So let's move on to question number 2. Let's see if we can get some points on the board, folks. Remember, if you want to jump in, crowd.live, enter the code IUK9L. That'll get you in. Here we go. Question 2. Steak or sushi? It's a simple one. On this show, you're given 20 questions. Every guest is. You pick the 10 you want to talk about. And usually, because it's this type of question, a certain amount of them are just about food. That's just how it goes. What are you going to do? Let's see how the crowd answered. At least someone's going to score some points this time, which is good. So it's steak or sushi. Grant, tell us what the answer is and why.
I like that people were like, oh, he thinks he's an artist? Well, sushi then. I'm switching that. He bougie. I picked sushi, and I feel like a fraud because I legitimately had steak tonight for dinner.
But I am bougie.
Yes, but I am bougie. And if I had to pick between the two, I picked sushi because there's just so much variety with sushi. And having sushi to me is more of an event, right? It's like a fun whole thing, right? We're being social, we're hanging out, we're doing the thing, we're ordering for the table. It's just the same thing where I'm like, I like games that have player interaction. Well, sushi is a food that has people interaction more than steak is.
No one comes out with a steak boat.
Yeah.
There isn't like an across the board accepted steak boat.
We're gonna pass the kebab around and everybody just bite one chunk off of it.
Remember, there would have been a time when that would have been a thing we might have considered.
Yeah, true.
Wow. Let's take a look at how this changes the board. Chris is in the game with 92 points. XO4 a 1 point back, which is very hard to do in this game because it's a 100-point clock that counts down. But we are at a 92-91 fight. If you're out there and you want to jump in, once again, enter the code crowd.live, enter the code IUK9L. If it doesn't come up, I don't remember it. It's weird. We're going to move in to question number 3. Here we go. Yahtzee or Scrabble? We've talked about a lot of games here, and one of the, I'll call them reviews, but I don't even know if I'd call them reviews what you're doing. You're just more like,
I call them funny game recommendations. That's what I call them.
Okay, that is very apt.
Yeah.
One of your recommendations was Monopoly Deal.
Yeah.
Which is a game I love, and I do the same thing you do, which is I say, like, don't let the Monopoly hurt you. It's not going to burn you.
Yeah.
It's not a bad game. So we're talking about some classic games here. Yahtzee and Scrabble, the crowd. 50-50. You get no more knotted up than this.
Yeah.
So, Grant, what's the answer and why?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to preface it by saying I'm not really a big fan of either of these games.
Okay.
But the answer is Scrabble because my sister has such dumb luck at Yahtzee. It is the most infuriating game ever for me to play, where I don't know that I've ever gotten a Yahtzee, and she's over there like, oh, what? I can't. This is my 4th Yahtzee. I can't write in more than 3, and it's just like, you know?
Oh my goodness!
Even when we were kids, all the time, I'll be like, she'll be hundreds of points ahead of me every time we play, and it's just infuriating.
You're like, it's just dumb dice rolls.
Yeah,
it's not skill. You're not better.
How are you so lucky at this one specific game? I don't get it. Oh.
So now I'm going to ask you one kind of adjacent question to it that's a little more nerdy. So Yahtzee is probably like the most popular roll and write on Earth.
Yeah.
Are you a roll and write dude or no?
I do like some of them. You know, like one of my favorite games recently has been Cartographers, which is more of a flip and write, but still the same sort of. Yeah, and I'm just loving Cartographers right now. But totally, I have no problem with the roll and write genre. I think it's fun. You know.
It's also really good for Zoom.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So take a look at the board. Chris and XO4 not getting anything on this one. The two new players scoring, Malika and the Finch getting in there. 88 and 76, 4 players in the game. It's 100 points a question. This is anyone's game with 7 questions remaining. If you want to jump in, once again, crowd.live, IUK9L, $10 on the line, 5 from me, 5 from Grant, because Grant's awesome helping out the show. Let's move on to question number 4. Here we go. Board game or party game? I feel like this is if I knew how the interview was going to go, I would have started with this so that people could make sure their phones worked.
Yeah.
This feels easy to me.
Yeah, I admit this one feels easy.
We'll see, though. Let's see how everybody answered. So, no, clearly it is not. It did not seem as apparent to everyone as it does to me. So, Grant, talk about it and why.
Well, this is like the opposite of the last question, right? Where the last question I was like, boy, do I have to pick either of these? And this question is like, man, how do I pick between these? So everybody is right. I will say that even if you don't get points, if you pick board game, you're still right. The answer is party game, but I love both. And part of the reason I picked party game was because I had my hand forced. And, it's, again, if I'm talking about that player interaction, right, it's like I love board games and I love thinky games too. It's, maybe I'm not playing a 4.5 on the BGG, complexity rating, but I love, a good, I'm really digging Isle of Cats right now, where you're like, all right, there's some decent amount of thought that goes into that and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I really like that game. But if I had to pick between the two, which I did, a party game is a game that I can bring more of my friends into. And the reason why I picked it was because, well, I want to hang out with my friends. And I haven't done that in a long time with this pandemic. So,
Indeed. A couple things to note before we jump to where the scores are. John Finch totally gets where you're coming from with Yahtzee, like playing King of Tokyo with his kids.
And you're like, how do you keep rolling everything you need? I've been playing King of Tokyo Dark recently, and nice. I like the art and stuff in that one. It's my favorite version of it.
Very cool. Very cool. Have you ever played a game called Thebes?
No, I don't know that one.
It's a wild game where you are kind of at the turn of the century, the 1900s, not the 2000s. Turn of the century, and you're like exploring ruins all over the world and stealing the greatest treasures that civilization has ever known. Yeah. And that when you like dig in a bag to pull things out, and sometimes you get things that are your treasure, and sometimes you get sand.
Okay.
I always say, because I have a friend that will not play that game because he believes it's cursed. The same way that you believe Yahtzee's cursed, and John thinks that King of Tokyo is cursed. Let's take a look at how the scores are going. XO4 leading with a $176. The Finch not far behind with 163. Chris and Malika in the game. Still a lot of questions left. 100 points a question.
Nothing. It's anybody's game here. It's anybody's game.
To win 10. Don't forget, folks. I know everything said $5. It's $10. As we move on to question number 5. Here we go. Football American or football the rest of the world? I feel like I know what the answer has to be if you're watching this. Because if you're football American, you're not watching this right now. But the question is, how's Grant feel about it? Maybe Grant forgot that the interview was going to be on the start of Football American. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look. The crowd, once again, 50-50. Yeah. They do not know. Hard. Please.
These are hard.
Tell us the answer and why.
I admit, I feel like probably my Lakers hat throws people off and makes them want to pick Football American. But the answer is football the rest of the world, because I actually was a college soccer player and I played in the national championship game once upon a time. and a bunch of my teammates played in the MLS and all that sort of stuff. So soccer was my life before comedy, which was my life before board games.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a hell of a thing.
That is, yeah.
So then what did you play? Like, I'm real curious about this, just as a person that kind of cares about sports. So, like, how does that work? How young? Clearly you didn't quite make it to the MLS, but...
Well, I decided not to take any tryouts and stuff because I wanted to, by that point I knew I wanted to be a comedian. So I started doing stand-up when I was in college, and I literally started by performing for my college soccer teammates. I would like get all my teammates together into like a hotel room or stand up on the front of our tour bus or something like that and tell jokes for 10 minutes. And that's how I started, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's gotta be like one of the odder ways that someone has found themselves.
And I'm very grateful for it because I don't know that I would have had the courage to just go sign up for an random open mic, right? Like I don't know that I would have. So, you know, for 6 months I was just performing for my friends before I ever worked up the courage to like actually go try an open mic.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That is awesome. And it has to be so much better on your body.
Yeah.
I would guess.
Yeah. And I mean, my dad was a college football player and he still has back problems.
So. I have a friend that was a college, like, Division B starting center.
Yeah.
And he said he could have gone to play in Italy. And he was like, so I could either go play in Italy and maybe see myself on an Italian basketball card, or I could play catch with my kid.
Yeah, I know.
Like, those are my choices. I think I'll play catch with my kid.
And that's where, you know, soccer in America works largely the same as baseball. If you know baseball, where it's like the Major League Baseball, AAA, AA, single A. There are leagues. And so the reality is I would have been a AAA soccer player, right? Which is like, you know, nothing to sneeze at, but it's also like that's a tough life being like a semi-professional athlete, you know?
Oh, definitely. That's a solid get $100 a day if you're lucky kind of way to grind it out. One question. Did you play for the UC Santa Cruz Slugs?
Yes, I did.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
How did he figure that out so quick? That's cool.
He's stalking you.
Yeah, that's great.
You know what this is? This is a person that really wants to win $10.
Yeah.
I respect that. Let's take a look at the board. XO4 leading with 264, making what I would call the first legitimate lead of the game. Malik at $1.66, the Finch at 163, Chris at 92, but still a bunch of game left. And I don't think anyone's gotten so far ahead at 100 points a question that you need to worry. If you want to jump in, you still can, though you've spotted everybody half the game. Crowd.live, IUK9L, if you want in. Let's see. Oh, somebody asked me why I didn't ask you about that. About your soccer. I did. And then you figured out that I clearly did ask you about that. Sorry, sometimes as I see them, I have to respond to them.
Yeah, I get it.
As we move on to question 6, Christmas or Halloween? For no good reason. You get 20 questions. I randomly pick them out of places. And we got this one, Christmas or Halloween. I feel like probably like the two holidays everyone fights about when they're allowed to begin and when you're obligated to stop celebrating them.
Yeah, I feel like that people are going to get this wrong. I'm going to say that right away.
Yeah, I feel like that could be very possible. Let's take a look. So 1 for Christmas, 3 for Halloween. So it's not as bad as it could be.
That's what I thought, though. It makes sense that you would pick Halloween because of dressing up and the playing of character and all that stuff. But one thing you don't know about me is I am weirdly obsessed with Christmas, okay? I have an unhealthy degree of love for Christmas. No joke. One of my favorite things to do during the month of December is to go stand next to Christmas trees in public places and then make people take pictures of me standing next to the trees from their phones. And when they're like, how do I get this to you? I'm like, no. That's for you.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So then are you like a decorator? Are you one of those people who are like,
yeah, we do. I've got tinsel and garland that goes that we could do all through our staircase. I've got a life-size version of Will Ferrell from Elf. So we put that up. We do a tree. I do a ton of stuff. like, here's an example. A few years ago, my older sister, who also loves Christmas, we made our own advent calendar. This probably was like 6 or 7 years ago. And we do the advent calendar, and every day, yeah, exactly. Nobody sees it coming. But we did an advent calendar where every day you got to open it up and do a Christmas activity, right? You got to make Christmas cookies that day. You got to do, we said you got to make leaf angels because we don't have any snow in Los Angeles. So you go out and make a leaf angel. Yeah, I love it so much.
So then here's the question I feel obligated to ask here, because I know you're going to have an answer for it. And I know I'm not putting you on the spot by asking it. So we're talking about Christmas specials, okay? Yeah. Limit it to just one or two. If we have people out there, because once again, we may have people that just do not care, or there may be some Christmas special that you think people should watch that maybe they haven't.
By Christmas special, do you mean movie, or do you mean like...
So, my answer would be, and I'm going to do this to help frame the question.
Well, because like Bill Murray did that one a few years ago that I loved.
Say it again?
Bill Murray did one a few years ago that I loved. So
yes.
Do you mean that about like that kind of Christmas special?
I would absolutely accept that, because I always suggest Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah.
Christmas special was, I think, the best one that there is. But if it's a movie or like Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, like what it is you think people should be watching. One's the Bill Murray. I think that was on Netflix.
Yeah, and I think it's weird, but it's funny and it's cool. If you go into it with the right like attitude where like we're just having a good time hanging out with our friends, then I love it. I also love musicals. So my favorite Christmas movie of all time, which I think is criminally underrated and doesn't get played, and the music doesn't get played on the radio or anything like that, is A Muppets Christmas Carol. That movie is amazing, and that's my #1 Christmas movie of all time.
Oh, yeah. And I think one of the things people miss and they forget about, and Grant, I feel like you're going to understand where I'm coming from here because you picked it, is it's the only place where all the Muppets have a giant, like, Marvel DC style crossover.
Totally.
Like,
we're all in it.
Everybody shows up.
Yeah, I know. It's great. I love it so much.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's out of print.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, I play the music from my phone and stuff because I'm, like, I have a rule, in my car during the month of December, it's only Christmas music in my car. Like, even if anybody else is getting in, it's like, no, we stay on the station that plays Christmas music. And they never play the Muppets Christmas Carol music. And I think it's really disappointing. Like, the music is great in that movie, so I play it all the time on my own. Yeah.
Well, hopefully, maybe with Disney Plus and everything falling under that, they'll start selling it to people again.
Yeah.
Let's see how this affects the game board. XO4 leading with 357, Malik at 166, the Finch at 163, Chris at 92. Chris noted, we're not playing by golf scores? No. Unfortunately, we aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not getting the $10 at the bottom. We're not playing the high and the low. I know what an awesome show. I like the Bad Guys song about money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We're Marley and Marley. Whoa, we're Marley and Mar. Oh, I know all of them. Don't get me started.
I'm so shocked that Disney hasn't promoted that more, because that was one of theirs. That and Treasure Island.
Yeah, totally.
I think we're both under the ones that they produced wholly.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's jump into question number 7. Here we go. Puppet show or balloon artist? I feel like this one's let in. Once again, I always feel like that we do something that should make a question like this incredibly reasonable for someone. But you never know, because sometimes they find out you're a big Christmas fan and no one could have guessed.
Yeah.
So no one feels like they can trust anything anymore.
Yeah, that's true. I'm throwing some curveballs. I like what I like. What can I say?
So everybody goes puppet show. Grant, talk to us about it and break some hearts.
All correct. Good job. A puppet show is full of joy, and a balloon artist is, their balloons are full of the breath of a sad clown. Okay. I don't need all that. I don't need this stuff. The puppet show takes you on a journey, and a balloon artist just feels depressing to me. All right. Yeah.
So let's see who answered it fastest. Let's get some points out there on the board. XO4 with nothing but fours. The Finch at 243, Malika at 225, Chris at 170. So the scores, everybody but XO4 does not look great, but at least your scores look better.
Yeah.
And that I think is super important.
I'm proud of everybody.
Like you've done 7 questions.
Yeah.
Here is question number 8. Gear yourselves up, folks. Here we go. Cookie Monster, Oscar the Grouch. We knew this was going to get to puppets. So I want to one of the hardest puppet choices, I believe in most of puppetdom, of Cookie Monster or Oscar the Grouch. And I think this becomes one of those like Beatles Elvis from Pulp Fiction things where you kind of can separate humanity on this one.
Yeah.
Let's see how exactly the room feels. 75% thinks Cookie Monster. So how do you feel about it, Grant?
Cookie Monster is the right answer. And if you can tell at this point, I am someone who tries to express a lot of joy. And I like things that are joyful. And the Cookie Monster is just so joyful all the time. He just wants some cookies. He loves them. He loves cookies. And Oscar the Grouch is a curmudgeon, which is weird that I made a game named Curmudgeon. And I'm not picking Oscar the Grouch. But, the Cookie Monster is just so much more joyful, you know?
Significantly.
Oscar the Grouch is funny. He is
definitely
funny.
But not joyful.
No, not joyful.
Not in the slightest. XO4 with a full 2-question lead over Finch, who's in second with 334. Chris with 263. Malika with 225. One person noting, just very happy about the breath of a sad clown as a statement.
Yeah.
And I can't disagree. Question number 9, 2 questions left in the game. If XO4 can miss them both, you might be able to split a pot.
I got to move my seat right now, guys. Come on.
A giraffe with long metal claws that pop out of its hands or a moose that shoots acid? One of life's most important questions, the oft asked. A giraffe with long metal claws that pop out of its hands or a moose that shoots acid? We made these last 2 just 3-foot putts. That's what these are. 50-50. So talk to me, Grant.
All right. I want to know if the leader picked the right one right now. The answer is a giraffe with long metal claws. And the reason I picked it is because it's very utilitarian, right? Both of these good at defending you in a pinch, you know? They could both defend you if you need it. They can fight off enemies. They're both good at that. But the giraffe can also like do chores, like trimming your hedges and things like. I don't know that there's a lot of like, chore benefit with a moose that shoots acid, right?
And it seems like it's only a liability.
Yeah. But the giraffe is like, hey man, I need you to trim that tree over there, and he's like, I got it, bro. I got it. You know,
what else am I doing? Cool. Yeah. There's one person that asked, but who would win in a fight?
Boy, I mean, the whole thing depends on how far can that moose shoot acid, right? Because giraffe has a long reach. Now, if you're telling me this moose can shoot acid 100 yards, then the moose probably wins. But I'm guessing the moose can't shoot it that far, and that giraffe has a long reach with those metal blades.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Let's take a look at the scores. XO4 at 534, Chris at 363, 334 for the Finch, and Malika at 281. One question remains. XO4, I know I'm paying you $10. You know how to find me. We'll talk about it later. But just for purely the sake of keeping the premise of the show running, let's go for the 10th question. Here it is. Captain America or Iron Man? A classic, solid geek question. Whether you are a comic book nerd or you only know the movies, there is an alleyway in on this one.
Some of these were legitimately hard, like, to pick, you know?
That's the hope.
Yeah.
That's also why you're given 20 of them. I want you to pick 10 that you want to talk about and that are cool and difficult and fun. And the crowd's 50-50. They do not know which side of Civil War you are on.
And so I have to explain a little bit.
Okay.
If I was picking just from the movies,
I'm
going Iron Man. because Robert Downey Jr. is funny. That performance is so good. But one thing you don't know about me is that I collected cards. I was a huge collector of X-Men cards growing up. And quite honestly, in the card version and the comic book version, Iron Man was a lot more boring to me than Captain America was when I was growing up. So the answer is Captain America, because of when I was a kid, you know, Captain America just seemed really cool. He was a leader. He was, you know, he had, you know, came from history, and I liked history and stuff like that. So I think in the movies, I probably like Iron Man better, but if I'm going my childhood and stuff like that, it's Captain America.
So I have to ask, because then I'm going to actually pull it to the far screen, because you hit another nerd that I know a lot about. So are we talking like the old like Marvel masterpieces where they were paintings? Or
no, so do you know they used to have, and it was like really geared towards X-Men, right?
Yep.
So it was mostly geared. So X-Men is like, that's what I was into. You know, the Avengers was like, I guess, like I thought they were all right, but I was way more into X-Men when I was a kid. And they used to make all those like X-Men trading cards, right? Where there was bars on them, and it showed agility, durability, strength, all that kind of stuff. And that's what I spent like all my money on when I was like from like 9 to 12 or something like that, you know? And those cards, and I had multiple like full sets of them. Like I put a lot of effort into getting full sets. And then we moved, and my mom threw them away. I'm still not happy about.
That I have found in my older age, as that stuff has gotten cheaper, I every once in a while will like buy a thing that I wanted when I was 11.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, the Fleer Provisions. I wanted to own those, and they're $4 now. I think 9-year-old Bruce is going to be happy.
Yeah. So
very cool. Very, very cool. So here we go. It's the end of the game. We know the winner, but I want to see how the rest of the stack shakes out. Here we go. Once again, XO4 missing that one. Chris jumping up with 463. Malika at 366. The finish at 334. XO4, you are the winner. To claim your $10, contact me in any of the ways you can contact me, including at BG The Game Show on Twitter. I'll get your information. I'll either PayPal it to you or Venmo it to you, or hell, we'll work it out. Money moves very easily these days.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up to watch this. Grant, thank you so much for being a part of this.
A lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well.
Indeed, Grant, tell everybody all the stuff. The new game, where they can get that, what the dates on that are, where they can find, just hit them with everything.
So my game is Curmudgeon. It's being published by 25th Century Games, who's published, you know, Space Explorers and Kingswood just shipped out to people. And so if you go to curmudgeongame.com, it's in the pre-order phase right now, and it'll be out to people in October. I actually just got a video of the assembly today. So nice. It is done being printed and all that sort of stuff. So curmudgeongame.com, you can pre-order it. And then if you want to follow me, youtube.com/Grant Lyon. That's where all my comedy videos are. And I do a bunch of other funny comedy stuff on like Instagram and things like that. So I'm at Grant Lyon 1, the number 1, because some other took my name first, on like Twitter and Instagram. So yeah.
Very cool. Christopher's going to check that out in just a little while. Awesome. Well, once again, everybody out there, thank you so much for playing. Grant, once again, thank you so much for giving me the time today.
Yeah, this was fun. Thanks for doing a fun show.
No problem. And out there, we will be back tomorrow night, Friday night at 8 p.m. with its quiz time, our regular, just normal trivia quiz. If you're missing doing bar trivia, it's certainly a way to fill it in. But between now and the next time I see you, for the love of all that's holy, go play something. Have a great night.